Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and today I'm so excited to bring you guys an episode with Tyler McCandless. Just back from competing at the World Mountain Running Championship in Confranc, Pinheiros. Tyler was a competitor in the uphill category. He actually helped his team. He was a scoring member for the U.S. men's team, where Tyler helped the team achieve a bronze medal overall, as well as Tyler competed himself to a 26th place finish in that race. Really excited to get to talk to Tyler and kind of debrief the race in its entirety. A lot of differences between a normal competition and a race like this, where it's just, this race seemed a lot more chaotic and just a lot more going on. Lots of bottlenecks, hard opportunities to pass, and Tyler found himself kind of in a lot of adversity early on in the race, and kind of debriefed that and how he was able to work his way back up into the mix and become a scoring member for the U.S. men's team. Lots of good stuff there. We also got into some debrief of Broken Arrow, where Tyler earned his spot on the U.S. men's team. We talked about how that race unfolded, being shortened from a VK down to about half the distance, and what that was like on race day when things had changed and he was able to kind of adjust and earn his spot. Lots of good stuff there. Yeah, Tyler's an amazing human. We also talk about another Olympic qualifier that he's going to chase for 2026, which is exciting as well. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Tyler's story is an amazing one. I think he brings a lot of a really good perspective about what it's like to go compete over in Worlds, especially from someone that's only represented the Stars and Stripes once. Just the differences in a Worlds versus other races where you compete for the U.S. and just what it's like. So lots of good perspective there, and I'm genuinely appreciative for Tyler's time. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this one. Tyler McCandless.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Tyler McCandless, welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. It's great to be back on, James. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. We kind of had preliminary planned this. I screwed up our scheduling, so this kind of worked out significantly. I almost like the format of this better, that we're getting to chat and catch up post Worlds, which is obviously you just returned from Confranc, competing on the vertical team, or should I say uphill? I think it's probably the better way to say it. Dude, first reactions after the race, like how are you feeling, and what's the emotional level like?
Yeah, I was nervous being away from the family for like 10 days, but everything was great at home, and coming back, I've never been so inspired by being a part of a team and running and competing for something that's way more than, a personal glory or personal goal. It was and you knew it was going to be a team atmosphere, but coming back, I'm just extraordinarily inspired to continue to compete as well as I can on the trails, and hopefully make the team in 2 years for South Africa and Cape Town, because it was that incredible of an experience.
Wow. So it's interesting to me. I don't talk to too many folks that have had bad experiences at these events. Like everyone, it seems like Jeff Colt was a great example, because he came back from Worlds. I can't remember. I think it was Chiang Mai, and was like, the stoke was so high. He was recruiting people to go out and try out for these, these teams and really get people behind Worlds. What is it about it that makes it so special? Is it the representation of the Stars and Stripes? Is the team aspect of it? Because I know, we're all kind of old. Like it's not often anymore we can be on a team, right? Like, what is it that's so special about like the World Mountain Running Championship?
Yeah, And I was in a very fortunate position with the vertical. You race first,
Right.
and then I have 3 days of cheering on my teammates in the short trail, the long trail, the classic, the U20. Meanwhile, you're like having meals with everyone and getting to know them. And like I would never have been at the same race as Jim Walmsley, for example. Yet we're at the Mountain Classic out on the course, both of us with our phones watching the live stream, talking about it, getting excited for like how the US team is doing and ready to cheer for them when they come through the next time. It's just like you don't have those experiences in a race, any race you like sign up and go to. So there's just something special around Worlds where like you are all rallying together. And again, I was very lucky to compete in the first event and then being able to be like more relaxed to cheer everyone on. But like everyone came out for the Mountain Classic on the last day and the U20, and the representation we had across the team was just incredible. And it gets you back to like competing in college and you're at a track meet and the 4x4 is the last event and everyone's coming there and like cheering on, the team to like earn as many points for a conference positioning. So like I think everyone's stoke is really high because you leave on that note of like everyone rallies together, you've all competed hard. And honestly, across all the race disciplines, we like competed really well as a team.
Yeah,
Like
we did.
it was really impressive. So it was also like just a like America's very good at trail running and we just demonstrated that. So yeah, I think all of those together just made it a super exciting finish to the event.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's talk about the race. Let's talk about the venue as well and travel. Like how hard was it to get out there? Was it smooth? I know for some, like for instance, like your team member Christian had like a really rough day trying to get out there. How was it for you as far as flights and everything? And how far ahead of time did you arrive?
Yeah, I was on a flight that left on a Friday, got there Saturday. We were pretty much on time, half an hour delayed, something like that. I rented a car and Joe Gray was on the same flight. So then we hopped in the car and we drove literally 3.5 hours straight to the start of the course. And we ran the uphill course. It was supposed to rain hard the next day on Sunday. So we were like, well, let's see the course before it rains. So, him and I got there Saturday at like 6 p.m. and we ran the course on the way down. It got really dark. Ended up getting out my phone at night, like trying to navigate the final few miles downhill. Joe fell a couple times. It was an experience to say the least. But being able to see the whole course on Saturday before I competed on the next Thursday was really great. And then, jet lag is real going across to Europe. So like I'd wake up in the middle of the night, like wide awake at 2:30 in the morning or so. But after a few days, you kind of got into the rhythm. So like I felt well rested and really good by racing on Thursday. So yeah, I got to see the full course once, got to see it the start and a few miles of it again 2 more times. So I felt like pretty prepared for what I knew the course was going to be like. Um, and yeah, the travel otherwise was pretty smooth for getting there.
That's awesome. How was it difficult? Like I feel like if I was out there tapering and like getting ready for a race like this, I would want to it's almost like hard to not go run all the trails and see all the mountains and like kind of do all the stuff. Was that like a hard pull for you or was it I'm locked in, the team is locked in, like we're just getting ready for game day?
That's a good question. I think the hardest pull was Christian texted me. He's like, "Hey, let's do a workout, like tune up. I'm just gonna do some 3-minute reps." I'm like, "Oh, perfect. This is on Monday before the race on Thursday." Um, and then of course, like we ran the first 2 reps like way too fast, and I was like, "All right, I gotta pull back. Like I am racing in like 72 hours or whatever it was at that point." But I think like I was pretty locked into I need to race this course really well, and then I'll have time being able to see the other courses and experience other trails and run other things after that. So yeah, I didn't have too much of a pull to the trail. I did have the pull to running too fast in my final workout, but
Fair
I was
enough.
able to manage it.
How was the venue like situationally? Like being, getting set up with roommates and the sleep situation and the food situation. Like how was it for you guys?
It was really good. The downside was, I definitely wanted to get out there early to preview the course. And then the team housing started the day before the uphill competition. So, we on our own to figure it out. So I moved from an Airbnb to a hotel to a different hotel, in like the first 4 days of being there. So there's a lot of bouncing around. But then the team hotel was terrific. They had all the meals for us. And it was pretty cool because it was like cafeteria type setting, and there was a bunch of different countries with each country's like name on the different tables. So it was like fun that you were kind of like getting to know some of the other countries, or at least around them, and seeing their vibes as well. And then there was a shuttle that took folks from, we stayed in the town of Hakka to Confranc. I was fortunate to have the rental car, so it was like really simple to drive like 20 minutes to get to Confranc. Confranc's a really small town. I stayed in there for the first few days to like run the course and be in there. And it was like just a couple of restaurants, like not really a full grocery store. It was a very small setting, but it was really easy to hit the trails. It was a pretty beautiful venue, like mountains on all sides. So yeah, logistics are pretty simple.
Very cool. Let's get into the team dynamic. Obviously, this isn't the first time you and Christian, as well as you and Joe, like you and Joe, for the most part, have been competitors for a really long time. Like it's been a few years now. And then on top of that, you've also been teammates. What was this dynamic like? I know Joe likes to, at least I've known Joe for previous years, to always been a big game planner, kind of plan stuff ahead of time. Was that the same vibes this time, or was it different?
Cam Smith is probably one of like the most social and organized folks. So like he certainly rallied us to get together in the summer, and we hosted like seven or eight folks in Buena Vista for a weekend, and I got to run the trail. So one of the things that was really nice, more than just the vertical team, but across the US team, like I already knew Mason Copy pretty well, and Taylor Stack and Cam. So there was already some level of like a friendship and all of us being excited to compete together. And then, as you said, like Joe and I have competed against each other for, more than a decade in various race disciplines. So we knew each other really well. And that was like easy to travel together to get to the course and run together. And then I've raced Christian a bunch, and he was my roommate in Confranc. So it was pretty simple to always have teammates around, and we didn't really talk strategically as like a group of four of us of like how we were gonna like specifically race it, but we all knew we were just shooting. We were all very fit and ready and excited to try to compete at the front. Yeah.
I love it. I can't say enough good things about Cam. Love Cam. He's a amazing human. On the topic of Cam, and on the topic of the Buena Vista camp that you guys did, can you talk a little bit about that and like the experience and just how fun it was to get to meet everybody and spend time with everyone? Because I feel like those types of things maybe had been missing from teams in previous years, and I think it's really important to the culture of a team for winning medals and just the cohesiveness.
Yeah, I was talking with Paul Kirsch and Tom Hooper after the event, and one of their observations was this team gelled together quicker than some of the other teams. And I do think us getting about eight of us together for a weekend of just running and catching up and drinking coffee together before running, like all of that, like really helped, because we were way more cohesive, and it was easier to be like sharing rides to places and going to preview the course together in Confranc. And it really, you just felt like more like a team going to there instead of like learning who your team is once you're there. So I do think that made a big difference. And we rolled really deep on that one specific training run in Buena Vista when like Noah Williams showed up, and there was a few other good runners, and Adrian, and like we had like 12 of the best runners in the US all like doing a 4+ hour run and trying to bag 2 14ers. It was pretty epic. So yeah, I think that added a lot to the dynamic and being a part of a team before like we were all together in Confranc.
That's so cool. And like I said, it just plays so much to the cohesiveness and probably contributed in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously there's so much talent on these teams now. The American teams, like we sent a squad this year, deep on every roster. But at the same time, I think the cohesiveness of everyone knowing each other, fighting for one another, and wanting to, perform well on race day, not just for their country, but also more so just for their team to score. I think makes a huge difference. So very cool. Let's talk about the race. I want to pivot a little bit into the race itself, and I want to open the door for you to kind of Talk about how it unfolded, everything from the warm up to the start, nerves. Give me the whole play by play.
Yeah, so the race started, all the other races started and finished by the train station in Confranc. Our race started, it was about 2 kilometers outside of town. And it was kind of like almost like a frontage road in front of like a small hotel. Quickly became a gravel road, and then you hit the trail. Probably about 600 meters of running before that. So for warm up, we got a ride from team staff, went to the train station, we warmed up. It was flat there, access to bathroom, really simple. Hopped in the car, got there like 35-ish minutes before the start. Before we had to go through will call, that gave us a little more time to jog around. Then about 20 minutes out, we all have to get like our uniforms checked at the same times. We were required to carry an emergency rain jacket with us, so we had to like show that to the team staff as well. And yeah, then we get through the will call. We're in track, you call it like the paddock area, so like kind of the fenced off area where all the athletes are. You could jog around a little bit. It was a pretty tight spot. We were told that they would only have one athlete per country at the start line. My background, I interpreted that as like cross country style, where like you would have one athlete and then line up in a row behind them. In reality, the race picked 6 or 8 athletes that they were going to like call up to the front. So like Christian Allen was called up. I think Patrick or Philemon. There was a few athletes. Remy, of course, was called up to the start. And then it was just a free for all of like who lined up behind. So I didn't have that expectation that it was going to be like people lining up to get a good position at the start line 15 to 20 minutes before the race start.
Oh.
So like I got there about 12 minutes before, and I was like 12 rows deep of people, and Europeans just like get really close. Like there was like no like wiggle room to kind of just like work my way up. I've run Olympic trials marathons, New York City Marathon, Chicago. I've always been on like the first or second row. Like it's never like hard to get up. And this was like impossible to get a good starting position. So the race, when it started, it's like a little bit of luck of like how fast the people right in front of you also go out. And I just got stuck in the back. And it was then me like swimming upstream, trying to pass people while running under 5-minute pace, going up this slope. I like my watch was bumped, so it stopped. So then I didn't have like a knowledge of like where I was at in the race, because I didn't notice that until I was like almost a mile into the race. So anyway, it's like it gets pretty narrow, and then you make a sharp left-hand turn up these stairs, and it becomes single track. And it just packed up to the point that in the beginning I was like walking up the hill. And there's like a distinct point in the race where I was like, my heart rate's not even high. I like can't go faster. You couldn't go around because it was like in the trees at that point too. So there's not really like room to move around the single track if somebody's slower in front of you. And then it's just like a line of people because there's 160-ish competitors, and everyone's kind of packed up at that point. So I was unfortunately like pretty far back, and it was one of those points where you're like, can I salvage this race? Like, is this race like so far in front of me now that I'm like in a tough spot? And then about a mile in, I caught Joe, and Joe was clearly just not having a great day. And it was like, all right, so from a team perspective, there's 2 of us here. We're like in the back half of the race. This is probably not boding well for our team position. But, you know, I just like kept keeping on and being present and just trying to move past anyone I could whenever I could. And by the time we got to about 2.5 miles, it starts to open up a little bit more. You get out of the trees. You're able to have like some more areas that you can pass on. The single track there was really narrow. So it wasn't like a single track that you could still get around people. You had to go off the single track really to pass. So like at that point you could do that more freely. And the people that went out hard were starting to fade. So then it was easier to get around. And I just kept moving, and it just kept moving and passing people. And I had a really good last mile and a half where I was charging up through the field. You get to the 600 meters to go, and it's a 30% grade and it's really steep. And the crowds there, you go from the trees where there's like nobody to all of a sudden there being like a ton of people that took the chairlift up that are there cheering. And I'm still like moving through, passing some people. It was still like a pretty large number of people in the general area I was. I get to the top and me and a Spanish guy were like fighting to get to the right position. I get around him and I see like two people that I'm like, no way can I catch them. But I start just sprinting and I close the gap and I pass both of them like right before the finish. So it's like really rewarding that I don't know if I've had a race ever start so bad. And like in hindsight, I could have got a better position at the start and I didn't do that. I wasn't aware that I should have like got to the start line 20 minutes and just waited. And that would have helped me more than like doing a few more strides. So hindsight 2020, learned quite a bit there. But like to continue just keeping on and just to keep believing and then to dig to pass those couple of people, finish. I find Christian here. He had a great run and was fourth. I find Cam here. He was 11th. I find out I was 26th, and we're like on Nancy Hobbs's phone, just like finding the results and trying to add up the team. And we like thought we were silver for a little bit, and then realized Switzerland had silver and we were bronze. But it was like an incredibly rewarding experience where 30 minutes before I was like, this team is having a really terrible day, to this team just earned a medal at the World Championships. It was a pretty remarkable experience.
Cathartic. I think cathartic too, because you start. How were the nerves essentially when you realized you were that far back? Was it frustration? Like, were you trying to keep your cool and maintain your positivity? Because I feel like for a competitor, like I would be very frustrated. And it's like, how do you keep those feelings in check and just do everything you possibly can to keep keep calm and still move your way up? Like, how were you able to like kind of like pull yourself back together on that?
I think I did a good job of just being where my feet were and like just focusing on like immediately, like, how do I get around the guy in front of me? How do I get around the next guy in front of him? Thinking about like, oh, if there was a straightaway coming up, I would like quickly think, okay, I could surge around this left side and get around two guys. Like, and I think by just like focusing on the very simple, like what's the most immediate next thing I can do to move up in the field, I didn't have like an overwhelming sense of frustration because I wasn't planning or thinking ahead. The few times that like it came to me of like, oh, we're in a bad position as a team, I just like reoriented around like pass the next guy, keep moving forward. People will have probably gone out too hard and like I didn't go out too hard. So, I think if you look on Strava, the last like mile and a half, I was a second faster than Christian Allen.
Yeah.
He beat me by like 3 minutes. So like there was a big gap there. And I think that just representative of like, you can make it up, right? Like it took a while before I was able to get in position. And I don't think if I would have been on the start line, I would have been 5th place. Like, I don't think I like ended up losing that much because I just stayed present and didn't get frustrated by it and start like thinking about how the end result was going to be. I crossed the finish line and I didn't know if I was 12th or 42nd. Like I had like no idea, right? I'm like, Jason, can you help me out? Jason, who was on the team staff, I'm like, can you help me out? And like, where did I finish? And he's like, I'm trying to pull up results. So that was a unique experience, but that like gets down to like not caring as much about your specific place and end result. And I just knew like I battled through what I could to do the best to help support the team as well as I could. And that is a really amazing experience that goes beyond like a specific place.
That's amazing. And it's interesting too. I got to ask you this because I've seen videos. I've never raced in Europe. It's on the list. And I mean, from a race where it's super tight like that, especially where it looked like there was a lot of bottleneck when it transitioned onto the single track and going up, it seems like guys are throwing elbows. You got to like, not like in a like not purposely, but it just seems like it's chaos, like in a more aggressive, if you will. How are you able to avoid that and just kind of move your way like through some of these people? Because I know people don't like to be passed. Like and this is the highest stakes in a race if there are stakes.
Yeah, it kind of happens so fast that it like I didn't have time to like feel anxious about it. It just like was chaos. And you just like made it through the chaos to the other side where you were then in a line on the single track. So yeah, it was a very interesting, race perspective. And then you could see people who got freaked out by it. There was specifically two Uganda guys who came absolutely flying by me like halfway through the race. And it was like, whoa, where were they before? How are they moving so fast? And then one guy pulls up, grabs the side and starts walking, and the other one slows down drastically. So like I think that was a case where they probably got a little over anxious about not being in a good spot and then tried too hard to make it up and then faded. When I think I had just like a good mindset of like, I'm just going to focus on passing the next person in front of me and the next person and not trying to do anything too drastic to make up for that chaos that truly was a half mile into the race.
It's crazy. Was there any takeaways, like as a, not just as a competitor, but as someone that knows the sport, like Remy doing as advertised, Patrick, being not the world champion this year, being, right off. Anything that like stuck out to you as takeaways from this specific competition after the fact? Obviously you're in it, so you see things play out. Was there anybody like that just amazed you or like did what you thought was going to happen? I don't know. It's kind of a weird question. It's just that as an athlete in the sport and as a fan, it's, these are also interesting things.
Yeah, I think it just really good examples are how Christian raced and how Cam raced. Like Cam didn't get at the start line. He did a very nice job of moving up through the field earlier and better than I did. And then he ran just bloody tough the whole time, and he took 11th in the world because he came in really fit. He was a gamer. He was like spot on ready. Christian really believed he could try to win a world championship and raced to try to win a world championship. And it's fun to see where like confidence meets opportunity and it comes through. And I was just thrilled for those guys on like having the race that they were capable of on that day. And I think you could kind of see that across all the competitions of like people that came in that were like game on and ready and believed and did something special. Anna Gibson, of course, being a great example of that, getting third. Lauren Gregory and how she ran the Mountain Classic and like was closing down and chasing down people at the end and ran, I think, her last kilometer faster than most of the guys did. Like, I think those were some of the examples that like really stood out. And it's more of that combination of racing and mindset that I think I learned quite a bit from.
So cool. Let's talk about like when you guys realized that you had medaled, like when you realized that it was going to be a thing. What was the feeling like standing on that stage, getting the medal, standing in the stars and stripes, everybody, you're getting cheered on, you're getting to talk with other athletes, from other countries. Like what was that feeling like?
Yeah, I think it's helpful to know when we finish, we're at the top of the mountain and you can take the chairlift down. And Christian's like, "Oh, I'm gonna run down to try to get some miles. You want to join?" So I'm like, "All right, I'll join." I don't have my cell phone. Like my cell phone's back at the bag before the start of the race. So like I have to run and get back to Confranc to I could like look at my phone to see the results, all of that. So like we thought we had like a silver medal at that point, and I was still like race results are never like immediate and accurate. Like things always change. And I'm like, somebody's bib probably didn't work. Like you never know. Plus we didn't like have actual team scores. We were just trying to like do the math of like the flags we saw of the people in the top 30 that we thought would be tough teams. So we start running down, and I'm thinking this is like a 3 or 4 mile run down the mountain on a Forest Service road. And it ended up being a 10-mile run to get back to Confranc. I had like 4 sips of a Coke at the top, and then like after running the race, then ran 10 miles back down. I was like so toasted by the end. And then we got down and we heard that we were bronze and the results were looking more like finalized and official. But the award ceremony wasn't until 7 p.m. So like honestly, I like called my wife Kristen and like talked to her when she was awake. And I'm still like nervous of like, are these results going to come in like France had an actual guy in 10th that wasn't recorded, and like we dropped down to 4th or something. So it didn't really feel real until we got to the award ceremony. The officials put us on some stadium bleachers until we were brought up on stage. And they did a great job of like having a real medal presentation ceremony on a stage, music, jamming, getting the crowd into it. It was a pretty like large crowd for an award ceremony. And yeah, it was just like it was a really amazing experience. To be honest, my high school didn't win any team competitions. At Penn State, we were good. We like made NCAAs in cross country, but we never won like a conference title or like podiumed. So I think this is like the first time I've been on a podium as part of a team, and that happens at the age of 38 at the World Championships in trail running. So it was a pretty surreal experience. I think Cam made the comment of like, the podium isn't meant for people like us, of just like, we're always like in the audience looking at the folks going up on stage. So yeah, it was a really special thing. And then Anna got her bronze medal individually. Then like we took photos, and it was just like really cool to have starting the competition with that as a team getting a medal. It was it was a bit surreal. It was cool.
So cool. So you've been on a lot of podiums, man. You've done a lot of amazing things in your career. Where does this one rank for you? Like, is it different? Is it better? Is it worse? Like, where does it kind of fall on the ranking for you?
I've thought deeply on that as well. And it was a challenging summer with like health stuff in the family, work challenges, training challenges. It just like to persevere through all of that, to have the support from family and friends. My wife threw me like a good luck in Spain surprise party where like 30 of my friends that showed up that I hadn't even seen some of them in a couple years. It was like the amount of support before, during, and after was just so special. And then to come away with the team medal and to do it where like I had to really dig and again like persevere through like beginning mistakes in that race and then come back. It was so rewarding, and more rewarding than most, if not all, of like an individual race result that turned out really well. So, it's definitely on my podium of my running career in terms of experiences. And yeah, I'm just very thankful for everyone. Immense amount of gratitude for everyone that's helped and supported and encouraged along the way.
So cool, man. Beautiful answer. Did you get one of those cool Nike shirts, the flowy ones? I shouldn't say they're cool. They're kind of weird. But like, did you bring home one of those?
The radical cooling technology? Yes, I do have one of those. Yeah, pretty amazing.
What's your like initial reactions on one of those things?
It is a big shout out to Nike and supporting innovation, and not that Nike hasn't innovated in the past. Of course they have, but like they're really putting more emphasis into the trail and ultra running community and innovating in apparel and in shoes. And I think that's just going to raise the bar for everyone. They work like incredibly well, not like I've worn it in a hot environment, but like everyone loved them that raced in them, and it's a pretty amazing thing. As a scientist myself, it's like they made a long sleeve shirt that acts to cool you more than like a super lightweight singlet does. Like it's a pretty neat spot to be in the sport, to like see those things coming, and I think it's only gonna continue to bring more people into trail and ultra running. And yeah, thankful for their support of the team.
It's really cool. I mean, and it's a fashion statement. Like I should have asked you to wear it for the podcast. These things are dope. Michelito, I think Michelito posted a picture with him and Noah and Tom, or maybe Tom posted it. It's like, what an odd shirt. But like, listen, man, if it works and it's innovative, by all means, I think it's kind of neat.
It stands out. It brings some attention. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right. What's the reaction after the fact? Are you going to take some downtime? Are you training for like? Are you going to start a new block for something next, or what's next for you?
Yeah, so excitingly, the Olympic Marathon Trials qualification window opened on September 1st. So it's open for 2.5 years. So there's like a long time. But this would be my fifth Olympic Marathon Trials if I qualified. So I'm going to pick a winter marathon, have road season, focus on running sub 2:16 in the marathon, making a fifth. I don't know how many people have ever made five consecutive Olympic Marathon Trials. So that is a big goal. And then I'm more excited than ever to really rip it on the trails again next year. I'd like to try a few more competitive races. Like I think Sierras and all fits my fitness and capabilities really well, starting with basically like a double VK and then a a little bit more of like a road race-esque feel. Like I feel like I could perform well there. So that's in August of next year. We'll see if there's like a NACAC team or any other teams to make for the US. I would definitely be very interested in that. Of course, it not being a World's year. Don't know if I'll dabble in like a 50K or try something longer, but I definitely want to explore and run some more trail races. So the earlier I can try to get that Olympic Marathon Trials qualifier, the earlier I get back to racing on the trails again. So excited for a road season, but also like really excited for what next summer on the trails could bring.
Oh, I love it, man. I love for what's possibly ahead, especially seeing you at Series and all, just because your marathoning background and just everything you've done on the roads. Like, I feel like such a good intersection with your uphilling ability. That would be really cool. And then, yeah, there's a lot of good like Golden Trail stuff I could see you doing that I think would be a really good fit, not just Series and all. So, yeah, I'll definitely, we'll definitely talk before then. So, I do want to travel a little bit back in time because we didn't get a chance to talk after Broken Arrow where you got fourth at the VK. I just want to get like just a initial reaction and talk a little bit about maybe just rehash that race as well, just to for the proverbial icing on the cake. That was a very difficult race, like especially the fact that they changed the course. There was a lot of like hecticness around it. Obviously, it wasn't a full 3,000-foot course. How did that play out for you? Like, well, obviously that was a tough race.
Yeah. What was interesting about that was this is another one where it's like, all right, I got to get out and see the course. I'd never done the Broken Arrow ascent before. So I was like, I need to see this. If I'm going to try to make a team, it's like really important to understand the course. So we got out there on let's see there. I think the race was on a Friday. I got out there on like a Monday night so I could see it on Tuesday. I ran most of the course. I saved the final bit. That wasn't as important, but I got to see like 3/4 of the course of what I thought was the course. And then I was like, I love this. Like this section, there's like a longer section. It's probably like a mile and a half. That's more of like a steep service road that like is my jam. It's like what I just love is like grinding as hard as I can uphill on runnable terrain. And then they're like, oh, the weather's bad. We're going to shift the course and move it. So basically, like just the ski slope that I ran was the same as what I ended up running in the race. So it was a little like, all right, day before, I have a whole new course to do. I don't have time to preview it. And I'm just going to, compete the best I can on a shortened course as well. I think it was like 1,800 feet again instead of like 3,000 feet. So I'm like, all right, it's going to go out really fast. And then you're going to have to like battle through. And the final bit was on more single track. So I kind of knew the start would be like a lot of chaos, a lot of people going fast, but it's a steep enough slope that I felt like things would work its way out. And they pretty much did. By the time we got to the dirt road, which was about like less than half a mile rather than like a mile and a half of kind of where I like really loved the course, I was in like 10th to 12th place. But ironically enough, it was like Cam Smith, Joe, and I like packed up. And folks like Killian went out too hard. Andy was up there. And we kind of just like moved up through the pack. And by the time we got to the single track with about a mile to go, it was the four positions of Christian, then Joe, and then Cam and I. And I kind of just stayed pretty much in that fourth position. Cam and I traded going back and forth a couple of times. At mile, I'd say with like 2 minutes left of running, I was in fourth and I had seen a jersey behind me that was like a darker jersey. And the whole time I thought it was Killian because he was the last person I passed before we got to the single track. And it turned out it was like David Sinclair
Yeah, I
and
know. That's
Joe
the worst.
DeMore.
It's the worst person you want breathing down your neck.
I'm like, oh goodness, like the US spot is not locked up, right? So like then it got a little bit more stressful until like finally crossing the finish line in fourth and knowing I had a spot on the team locked up. So yeah, that was a very interesting race. I think in hindsight, I don't know if I would have loved to see the course beforehand. And a lot of those guys have run a Broken Arrow before and knew that trail because it used to be part of the 23K course. And I was just blind to what was coming up ahead. And there was some like technical ridgeline type stuff, and the steepness changed a few times. It would have been really helpful to see it. I think I would have enjoyed the longer course and a little. I know the top of that gets pretty technical, but like I really would have enjoyed the original Broken Arrow course. So, maybe I'll have to go back this year, even if it's not next year, even though it's not a qualifying, and see what I can really rip on it. But it was a really great day because the four of us we thought we were hopefuls to make the team, and then we ended up making the team and then competing well together. So yeah, it was a special day that day as well.
So cool, man. So cool. Yeah, and it's funny you brought up David Sinclair because I was going to mention that. I'm like, that's the last person I would want breathing down like on my back, especially given the season he had too. Like, man, it's so cool too. Like, dude, like you beat Killian in a race. That's pretty neat. Like, I don't know. Like that's something I would think about that be like, wow, it's something you don't do every day. So pretty neat.
Yeah, I wish he would have had a better second half though. He really faded. But yeah, the other thing that you don't realize in other races, like if it was a flat road race, I would have thought I had a big gap on David Sinclair. But when you're going up like a really steep slope, like lengthwise, you're not that far apart, right? You're just like not moving as fast.
Yeah.
So like it's also like pretty terrifying when you're like going super slow up this steep mountain and like somebody's like pretty close behind you and you can't gauge, is that like 5 seconds or 25 seconds of a gap? So yeah, that's it gets you a little anxious towards the top there.
Yeah, dude, racing's so much fun. I love the sport. That stuff is so nuts. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen next year, but we'll see what the U.S. Mountain Running Championship turns out to be. I would guess it's going to be. I mean, it could be Broken Arrow. I know they try and stay away from altitude races on off years, but then again, it was Snowbird 2 years ago. Was it? Yeah, 2 years ago in 24. Well, technically a year ago. But yeah, maybe we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe it'll be another Cirque Series race. Maybe it'll be Broken Arrow or something next year. So the sky's the limit. It's going to be fun. I can't believe we're in September, October, and we're already talking about next summer already. So
well, the one thing I talked with a few folks like Hillary and Alan and I had a long discussion of this is we have a vertical discipline at the World Championships, yet we don't have a vertical like series of competitions in the US. And I would love if Cirque Series and others would put together some VK style races. It doesn't have to be exactly, a kilometer of incline, but like let's get some more uphill only races and get people excited about this as like a discipline for that you can compete at the World Championships at, because it is really fun and it's an amazing test of fitness. So yeah, we need to have a US series and a US championship as well for the uphill. That would be really great.
I think it would catch on too. I mean, you could do it at ski resorts more or less. You just have to find the ones that have somewhere between 2 and 3K of vertical, and they could take the ski lift down if anything. So I think it would actually catch on with the fan base. Like you see Broken Arrow, you see the Rut. I mean, the Rut really, goes hard on theirs. Broken Arrow, it always sells out. Yeah, I think it would be super popular if we could figure out some sort of series. Dude, I've looked into it. It can be done. It's just a matter of, I don't know, if Julian has the infrastructure to be able to pull that off and like make it like tangible. So it would be cool. I'd also like to see them do a skimo one too, like a skimo series that's like a mountain classic skimo series in the winter to kind of complement what they do in the in the summer. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, man. I think people think that like, oh, with UTMB and all that, it's there's more, I guess you could say, monopolization in the sport, but I think that's the opposite. There's so much more to do with more vertical stuff. So yeah, I'd love to see it. We got to get you doing Pikes Peak. I think you would do amazing in the ascent. I think next year we need to need to make that happen.
The Pikes Peak Ascent, I think Zeros and R are the two races that I'm like, those are the kind of like, they should be must-dos on my schedule for next year.
Yes.
Without having a World Championships that's like, at the same time. It's a perfect year to do both.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to the Pikes Peak stuff. I'll be reaching out to recruit you for that.
Awesome. Love it.
All right, Tyler. Well, listen, man, I thank you so much for coming on and having a candid conversation about your experience. I cannot wait to talk again. And dude, wishing you the best of luck in your build for the marathon. And yeah, I'd love to see you chasing big goals, and I can't wait to see what's next. Appreciate it.
Thank you, James. Great to chat with you about Worlds.
Yeah, man.
What'd you guys think? Oh man, what a powerful episode. I want to thank Tyler so much for coming on the podcast and kind of debriefing his just his experience, the human experience, going over to compete at Worlds for your country and what that's like, and and just how you deal with that. It's not easy, especially being a professional at what he does. Like Tyler is a data scientist. He's a director of data science for a huge company. He's a PhD, he's a husband, he's a father. The dude is a lot of things. So to be exceptional at many things, I just find that Tyler's a special human. So I want to thank him so much for coming on the podcast, and wish him the best as he, goes after another Olympic qualifier, which is going to be pretty cool. Guys, the best way you can support Tyler is to give him a follow on Instagram. He's a great follow. You can find him at Trackty. That's TRACKTY. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You can also just type in Tyler McCandless and you'll find his handle there, and you can give him a follow. Lots of good stuff, lots of good interviews. Like I said, super appreciative of Tyler. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, amongst others, the best way you can support the podcast is give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you consume podcasts. That would mean the world to me. That's how I can continue to tell these stories of these amazing athletes. You can also support us by supporting our brand partner, Ultimate Direction. UD just dropped a brand new RaceVest 6 liter and an UltraVest 12 liter in some beautifully aesthetic colorways. They also have a pole quiver, which is pretty dope. And you could support them by going on ultimatedirection.com. If you are interested in anything or want to go to checkout, get yourself the code SteepStuffPod. That's going to get you 25% off your cart. Again, that's SteepStuffPod, one word, 25% off your cart, whatever you guys choose. And get yourselves hooked up. All kinds of good stuff there, especially as the weather starts to shift. We're getting more into autumn, winter here in Colorado. Things are starting to cool down a bit. You're definitely going to want to get some additional gear for longer, colder days out. Get yourself a nice pack, get yourself a belt, get yourself the good stuff. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.